Ever get that feeling?
Mm.
You know, you sit down to watch a new movie, and halfway through you think, hang on, haven't I seen this exact story before?
Oh, definitely. It's a weird kind of deja vu, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we're plunging into today. We're doing a deep dive based on this really interesting video essay called Why Does Every Movie Feel the Same Now?
Right.
Our goal is basically to unpack the arguments in that video. It tries to figure out why so many Hollywood film lately feel kind of, well, unoriginal.
And the video uses some solid stuff to back it up, doesn't it? Like analysis of big blockbusters, looking at industry trends.
Yeah, and some really sharp points about storytelling formulas, too. It's not just a feeling. The video argues there are concrete reasons behind it.
It's fascinating because it taps into something a lot of us probably feel, but maybe can't quite put our finger on. Is it just us seeing patterns, or is the industry actually shifting?
Okay, so let's jump right in. The video points to one huge factor right away: intellectual property, IP.
Yes, the big one.
The argument is that studios are leaning really heavily on stuff people already know. Think comic books, video games, toys.
Because it feels like a guarantee, right? Less risky than an original script.
Exactly. It's a safer bet. The video makes this really stark contrast looking back at 1994's top movies versus predictions for 2024.
Oh, yeah, I remember that part. In 94, it was mostly original stuff, wasn't it? Only like 2 IPs in the top 10.
Just 2. The Flintstones and Clear and Present Danger. The rest were originals or, book adaptations, which the video says still allowed for more creativity back then.
And compare that to 2024.
It's wild. The prediction of the video is that the entire top 10 for this year will be existing IP. Everything.
Wow.
Sequels like Inside Out 2, Deadpool and Wolverine, Moana 2, Despicable Me 4, just IP City.
It does make you think, though, are all IP movies automatically bad or unoriginal? Like you mentioned the Lego movie before we started recording. That was toys, but it felt super fresh.
That's a really good counterpoint.
Yeah.
The video maybe focuses more on the sheer volume of IP, but yeah, some definitely break the mold.
True, but the video's point about the kind of IP is also interesting. It's not just beloved books or comics anymore.
Right. They're making movies out of, well, anything recognizable. Barbie was huge, obviously, but The Sims, Monopoly.
Uno, a movie based on Uno.
It really hammers home that idea of banking on brand. Like, if people recognize the name, that's half the battle won for the studios, financially speaking.
Recognizability equals safety equals money. That seems to be the formula.
So it's not just what stories are told, but the video argues it's also how. It gets into this idea of screenwriting becoming maybe too formulaic.
Yeah, this is where it gets into things like Save the Cat, the classic 3-act structure, the hero's journey.
Useful tools, you think?
They can be, absolutely. But the video suggests they've gone from being helpful guidelines to what it calls sacred commandments, like rigid rules you have to follow.
Treating guidelines as gospel.
Exactly. And does that kill creativity? Does it make everything feel predictable if everyone's following the exact same blueprint?
The video breaks down that blueprint too, the typical 3-act thing. Act 1, meet the hero. Like right away, first 5 minutes.
Establish their wants, their flaws.
Oh, and don't forget the quirky best friend.
Oh,
always a quirky friend.
Almost always. And then, bam, the inciting incident happens, gets the plot rolling.
And Act 2 kicks in. You often get the training montage.
Like I have
some witty banter to keep things light. Then maybe a point where it looks like the hero's winning.
The false victory, followed almost immediately by the big emotional crash.
The all is lost moment.
Yeah, every time.
And Act 3, big final battle. Naturally, the hero learns their lesson, shows growth.
And then, almost inevitably these days,
the sequel tease. Got to set up the next one.
Right. So the video's core argument here is that sticking so rigidly to this makes movies predictable. You lose the element of surprise.
But I mean, don't stories need some structure? Doesn't that help make them satisfying?
Oh, for sure. Structure isn't the enemy. But the video argues it's the over-reliance on these specific market-tested formulas. It mentions algorithms, focus groups.
Like storytelling by spreadsheet.
That's the phrase it uses. The idea is it becomes more about hitting engagement metrics than creating, a deep emotional experience or taking real artistic risks.
It uses Marvel as a big example. Hugely successful, obviously. Changed the game in many ways.
Absolutely.
But the video argues even Marvel started to feel repetitive after a while. The same kind of snarky jokes, the last-minute plot twist, the big CGI fights.
Yeah, that idea of diminishing returns. Even a winning formula can get stale if you don't mix it up. Audiences are smart. They start to see the seams. Maybe that's linked to some of the franchise fatigue people talk about now.
Okay, so we've got IP dominance, formulaic structures. The video also talks about the people in the movies, the actors.
Right, the feeling that you're seeing the same, 5 or 6 actors and everything.
It calls them brands in their own right. Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya, Florence Pugh.
Pedro Pascal, Jenna Ortega, Jacob Elordi. The list goes on. Talented people, no doubt.
Absolutely. But the video suggests that seeing them so often, playing different characters, can kind of pull you out of the story. It makes the world feel smaller.
Breaks the illusion a bit. Instead of seeing the character, you just see the famous actor again.
And it touches on typecasting, too. Like Florence Pugh often playing these really intense women.
Or Pedro Pascal as the reluctant dad figure.
Jacob Elordi as the troubled, maybe toxic boyfriend. Does that limit them, you wonder?
It might. And it definitely leads into the video's point about new talent. If studios are always chasing the established names, the ones with huge social media followings or proven box office draw,
it gets harder for unknown actors to get a shot, right?
Exactly. It makes those breakout performances like Lily Gladstone in Killers of the Flower Moon or Millie Alcock in House of the Dragon feel even more impactful. Maybe because they don't have all that baggage. They feel fresh.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly. The global box office. The video argues this also plays a big role in the sameness.
This is a really key point. The need for movies to succeed everywhere, especially in massive markets like China.
Means they need the widest possible appeal.
Right. And the video suggests that can lead to sanding off the edges, removing cultural specifics, avoiding anything potentially controversial or complex.
It uses that analogy, the McDonald's of filmmaking.
Yeah, something designed to be easily consumed by everyone, everywhere, but maybe lacking, unique flavor or risk.
And it's not just theoretical. The video mentions Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness actually having scenes cut or changed for certain international releases.
Which shows the direct pressure. So the video argues this creates a feedback. These huge, globally safe blockbusters make tons of money.
Which tells studios this is what people want.
Exactly. So they make more of them and maybe invest less in smaller, riskier, more culturally specific films because they seem like less of a sure bet internationally.
Which connects perfectly to the next point, the decline of the mid-budget movie.
Ah, yes. The films that aren't tiny indie projects, but also aren't $200 million mega blockbusters, that middle ground.
Budget's like, what, $30 to $80 million roughly?
Yeah.
The video argues these are disappearing.
And it lists some great examples from the past. Films that relied on story and character more than spectacle. The Social Network, Juno, The Big Short. Even the first Matrix was arguably mid-budget for its time.
Solid films.
Yeah.
But now the focus seems to be on those billion-dollar franchise swings.
Right. The video mentions those huge payouts, like Robert Downey Jr.'s reported $80 million for an Avengers film. When budgets are allocated like that,
it leaves less room for those $50 million character dramas or smart thrillers.
And culturally, if audiences get used to only seeing massive spectacles, it makes it even harder for smaller films to cut through the noise and find people willing to watch them.
It sounds a bit bleak, but the video actually ends on a more hopeful note.
It does. It really champions the independent film.
Saying that's where the real originality and risk-taking is happening.
And it holds up everything, everywhere, all at once as the prime example. Super weird, genre-mashing, relatively low budget.
Edited on Premiere Pro.
Right. And yet it connected massively with audiences, won Oscars. It proved that unique visions can still find success.
And it reminds us, so many great directors, Tarantino, Nolan, Spielberg, they all started out in the indie world. That's where they found their voice.
The freedom to experiment is crucial. Plus, the video notes the internet helps now too. YouTube, Vimeo, social media. Indie filmmakers can reach audiences directly sometimes.
Bypassing the old gatekeepers.
Yeah.
And films like Minari or Parasite show that being culturally specific can actually lead to global acclaim, not hinder it.
Authenticity resonates.
So just to wrap up the video's main arguments, we've got the IP obsession, the storytelling formulas of the same actors popping up, the global market pressures simplifying things, and the squeeze on mid-budget film, all contributing to that feeling of same.
But the conclusion isn't total despair. It suggests that while the mainstream Hollywood machine might be caught in a loop, that indie spirit is alive and well, offering something different.
And it puts a bit of power back in our hands, doesn't it? As the audience. The video implies that our choices matter. Supporting those riskier, original films can actually maybe influence what gets made next.
It really does leave you thinking. So a final thought for you listening. What kind of stories do you genuinely want to see more of? And maybe what's one small thing you could do to support the kind of filmmaking that excites you?